I have no idea whether the speculation is even warranted or not, but it strikes me when you look at the Obama site, please don't vote against or for this, that people joined something because they found an idea that they had a sympathy towards. When you looked at the names, as best at least I could see them, of the originators, it looked like, one name or maybe not necessarily real names. In other words, they didn't join because they looked at people and said, boy, these 6 people are right, I want to be there. And I'm wondering whether that's something that's common. In other words, they're not driven to join a group because of the leadership of the group, they're joining for the idea. And if that's the case, in politics, that site could just as easily have been created by people who wanted to cause Obama difficulty, who are not supporting him at all.
Right, so we have certainly seen, precisely because this stuff now privileges affinity over geography. I don't have to be near you to talk to you. You and I don't have to live in the same region to start something together and recruit other people. We see a lot more of exactly the kind of joining you were speculating. The best book on this subject that I know is Steve Weber's The Success of Open Source, and he tries to explain how important the normative values of the programmers who join open source projects are. And they very often don't join because Linus is a great programmer. In fact, Apache is a perfect example. Apache never had a spokesperson the way Linux has Linus, a spokesperson and sort of core inventor. People didn't join for Brian Bielendorf. They joined because of Apache, either because they wanted to do something functional or because they liked the goals of the project. So we're seeing just many more of those kinds of groups. You could certainly create a sort of agent provocateur style protest. In fact, someone wrote me about the HSBC example and said, how do you know that wasn't sponsored by Halifax? Right, so the same question in a commercial field instead of a political one, but it's because in a way the group problem transfers field to field. There's no absolute answer to that, which is there may be some examples of that, but even if this was started by, I mean, it's almost phenomenological, even this was started by a McCain operative, if that many Obama people joined and said, yes, we care enough about FISA to protest on Obama's own site, it kind of doesn't matter. It's still the movement it is, whatever the germinating quality. Now, one of the questions, we're seeing the last election in which we can say, this candidate gets the internet and that candidate doesn't, right? It's done now. Starting with 2012, it's going to be 2 different ideas about how to use this stuff instead of whether or not. And in that campaign, I think we will really see how much dirty tricks can kind of be the seed for this sort of thing. I don't know of examples of it, but it's whatever. It's an interesting possibility. I'm sure people will try it. Yes, sir.
Do you expect that the Obama site developers are discussing whether to modify the code to screen these proposed affinity groups?
Well,
what do you think the reaction would be if they tried?
It's interesting. One of the things my students did when they looked at it a year ago is they created some groups, and in fact, Fox News picked up on them. My students didn't create this group, but they created a group just to see how easy it was, like how quick the process was. And the other prediction they came back with was, someone's going to create a group on the Obama side, and the Obama people are going to pass it. And then the right-wing media is going to pick it up and try and do guilt by association. So it was Black Panthers for Obama. And Fox News ran with this, right? And kind of unusually, the story went nowhere. And I think it went nowhere because we're now in an age where enough people understand how this media works that they don't say stuff users did on your site is as if you yourself wrote it and printed it and said it. So guilt by association has faded a little bit as a tool. That having been said, I'm sure that they looked at this. And I'm sure the gamble was on both sides, right? You've got 3 options. We can not pass this, at which point the screenshot, Obama will not allow this, goes on to dig instead. And the protest, there's no way not to let there be some outlet for this stuff. The second bet, which is the one I think they were making, was like, this is a telecom provision in just how many people are really going to get worked up about this, right? I mean, it's a particular part of a telecom provision in a fairly obscure bill where what people really care about is privacy going forward, which the bill largely addresses. Retroactive immunity is not going to get that many people worked up. And I think they just bet wrong. But here's the thing, Obama gets it. I don't think they would ever shut stuff like this down because of the bad PR. And when right, the classic model was, you do this, you hammer, the candidate stonewalls until the stonewalling becomes the story. And what Obama didn't do is he didn't do that. In fact, in the same news cycle, essentially, he said, okay, here's my statement on it. And the statement was, go to hell, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. Right? He said, I'm not changing my, I've changed from January, but I'm not changing from now. I'm going to vote for this for these reasons. It's quite moderately written. My characterization of it, obviously, is nowhere in the tone of the note. But there's not a hint that he's going to change his mind. But because he's responded, I think this issue is going to die on the vine. Whether that's right or not, I'm not taking a stand on. But I think the much bigger case is Obama people realize they've now hosted their own protest platform as well as their own organizing platform. And you don't get the value of the organizing without also opening up the possibility of upset. And titrating those things is a big part of the challenge. So now that we're in speculative territory,